Begs and Aiken. Don't give Paul any grits, though.
No grits.
Good morning.
The morning show with Mr. J and Paul Stone.
You know, big time, we've been talking about this presidential debate tonight and whether or not we were going to watch that and tape football
or vice versa.
Tape football and watch the debates. But, Paul, let's play the famous true or false game.
Okay.
And we're going to deal with presidential debate trivia.
All right, go for it.
True or false? The first televised debate was between Tricky Dick and JFK.
I'm going to say yes.
It is true. It happened 56 years ago today, September 26, 1960.
And you remember because he shaved, but apparently Tricky Dick was so dark, his beard looked like he was kind of shadowy.
Oh.
They said that's one reason why he may have lost
He had
that
the
debate.
5 o'clock shadow on the debate?
Yeah, he sure did, yeah.
It didn't go well for Nixon and probably cost him the election.
Yeah, well, there you go. At least that one, anyway.
All right, how about this one? True or false? The next televised debate in 1964 was the first one broadcast in color.
I'm going to say true.
Nope.
One for one.
Well, there
two.
weren't any televised debates that year. That's all. It's a trick question.
Okay.
All right, here's a good one, though. The debate with the most viewers was between Carter and Ronald Reagan.
False.
It's true. About 81 million viewers watched it in 1980, Paul. Some people think tonight's debate might beat that.
Well, next time, give me a little notice just so I can do some Googling. You know?
Oh, okay. The lowest rated debate was between Clinton and Bob Dole, I guess, in 96, when only 36 million people bothered to watch. But they're saying it's going to be Super Bowl ratings tonight.
100 million people are saying.
Mercy.
Tell ya.
Two candidates once debated each other while they weren't even in the same room. You believe that, Paul? Yes or no?
Yes.
It actually happened. Nixon and Kennedy's third debate in 1960. Nixon was in L.A., Kennedy was in New York, and the moderator was in a TV studio.
I'll be darned. Didn't know that.
Wow, they had that together back in them days?
I guess.
And the rules, this is interesting. The rules for tonight's debate say Hillary can't stand on anything to look taller. True or false?
True.
It is.
I'll be
Well, who
darned.
would think that, though?
Well, I guess you want to appear to be as big. Huh?
But she's not allowed to use a stool, but she can use a smaller podium than Trump if she wants to. So the podium is further down on her. It makes her look taller.
It's all about visuals, G.
I guess. I mean, wow.
Well, tomorrow morning we can have our chit-chat about that for sure.
Right, that's going to be interesting because it comes on at 9 o'clock, so we got our chips and our dips and all that stuff ready to go with this. Paul, this is interesting, too. More people are listening to playlists than albums. And I recently pulled out my turntable. I've got my albums, some of my albums in the living room now. And now, for no apparent reason, I just get an album, put it on, and just let it play. I let the whole thing. Now, I never do that with a CD. I never listen to a whole CD.
No, exactly.
And in those days, we did listen to a whole album.
I usually picked out 2 or 3 songs I like the best, and I'd record those for separate. Now, I would do my little cassettes for my car. I would never tape the whole album. I would pick songs I liked, and that became 3 or 4 songs.
Okay. And we had that choice once the cassette player came out. We didn't have to listen to the whole album. But I guess Dark Side of the Moon, Led Zeppelin 4, Nirvana's Nevermind, AC/DC's Back in Black, Amy Winehouse's Back to Black. These are classic albums that you spent hours listening to over and over and over again. Like mine, I would listen to Sly and the Family Stone's Greatest Hits. Oh, I'd put that on and never take it off. I mean, all the songs were good, but it's hard to believe that an era is apparently over, Paul, because more people listen to playlists than actual albums, and it's true.
When you say playlist,
they put together their own list, and I do that myself. Just like you, when you made your cassettes, people are doing that and just storing it on their computer. So now when they hit play, it only plays the ones they want to hear.
You go iHeartRadio, for example. You can ask anybody you want; it'll play those songs. There's so many ways of streaming music now.
Oh, there's all sorts of stuff out there. And according to the survey by the Music Business Association, playlists account for 31% of the total music listening time. Paul, talk radio. It's going to be here for a good while.
Well, thank goodness.
Music radio, I don't know. Because people got their own playlists.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
I mean, here's something artists aren't going to like. YouTube is the most popular source for audio. 42% of those polled say they use it to listen to music for 5 minutes at least once a week, and Pandora was second.
I believe that.
I love Pandora.
Pandora's huge. Yeah.
But see, what I like about and YouTube, I've got a list that I call my mobile playlist. So if I'm in my car, I can hit on the mobile playlist and it plays the ones that I like. Pandora, it gets smarter. Pandora, you can tell it, yeah, I like Michael Franks. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, I like that. And it starts adding these songs to your playlist. I'm like, wow, check that out.
It's pretty
it doesn't get much better than that. They came in second, followed by CDs. You still put a CD in your car every now and then?
I've got 2 or 3 of them in there. Yeah, I do.
But
we see you got an Apple. You got an Apple iPhone, so therefore all your songs can be played over your. Well, I don't. I have Google. Or I have Motorola.
No, but you still can do it. You still can do it. You don't have to have Apple to do that.
You're telling me how to do that later.
Oh, yeah, we will. Well, I'll hook you right up with that, man. Almost half the people said they don't pay for a music streaming service because they'd rather listen to ads. I wouldn't rather listen to ads, but I just can't get past paying. Well, serious, yeah, that's a little different.
But there are fewer ads. I mean, on Pandora, you get an ad every now and then.
Yeah, like every 3 songs you get an ad, and they last for, 30 seconds or whatever?
Yeah.
Who cares? But anyway, more people are listening to playlists than albums these days. But folks, do yourself a favor. If you've got some albums and you got a turntable somewhere, dust it off. You know, I still got a reel-to-reel in my garage.
Really?
Did you ever have?
I had an Ampex 7-inch reel-to-reel. I had that. I sold that. I sold my turntable. I sold my Bose 901s. Sold them all.
But see, when the reel-to-reel came out, there was something cooler about that. When you had a reel-to-reel, you just put it on and you were like real cool because it's going real slow and you got hours and hours of stuff on there. And mine has got so much dust on it now. Maybe I can get rid of it on Swap Shop.
There
Cliff.
you go. You may want to call Cliff. Yeah, he'll hook you up with somebody who wants to buy it for $10.
Be listening to Swap Shop this week, folks. I've got a reel-to-reel player that's you're gonna love it. Believe me.
Well, good morning. It's 8:18 now. A cool morning, 71 degrees. Time for news in 1590 WPSL, the talk of the Treasure Coast, along with our news partners at CBS News Channel 12 and the Florida News Network. We know, we don't often begin our newscast with a sporting show, but, today's a special day in sports. And in the sporting world is mourning the loss of 7-time major champion Arnold Palmer, who has died at 87 years old. Palmer died ahead of a planned heart surgery at the Pittsburgh hospital on Sunday. Known as the King, Palmer captured 7 major championships during his legendary career. Golf became a major television draw while Palmer was earning his 62 PGA titles, including 4 Masters, 2 British Opens, and 1 U.S. Open from 1958 through 64. One of his great rivals, Jupiter's Jack Nicklaus, said he owes a lot to Palmer.
I'd say we were pretty darn good friends, and I think that and he didn't have to do that. Here's a kid 10 years younger that he sort of shepherded through his early years in the game. I appreciated that very much.
And the Bay Hill Invitational in Orlando was named after him, is now dubbed the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Tiger Woods tweeted on Sunday and thanked Arnie for his friendship and counsel and lots of laughs. While golf community mourns the death of Palmer, the baseball world is mourning the death of Miami Marlins ace right-hander Jose Fernandez, who was among 3 people who were killed when their boat slammed into a jetty off of Miami Beach early Sunday morning. The 2013 National Rookie of the Year was completing his best major league season ever, going 16-8 with 253 strikeouts and 29 starts for Miami. Manager Don Mattingly said he will always think of Fernandez when he watches children play in baseball because that's how Fernandez approached the game. And now on to the news, other news. One of the biggest controversies following the grand jury's decision not to charge 2 Fort Pierce police officers with murder of DeMarcus Seamer is that there's no video on the encounter, despite the police department owning several body cameras. The police department claims that the cameras were too expensive to use, and now the city council has approved setting aside over $100,000 for new cameras, TV cameras, to film city council meetings, not body cameras for police officers. Well, CBS 12's Jenna Eschbach has more for us.
A unanimous vote to approve an emergency order for the purchase of cameras, $121,000. This the same week the grand jury decides not to charge 2 Fort Pierce police officers in the unrecorded shooting death of an unarmed DeMarcus Seamer.
This is just bad management.
Chief Diane Hobley-Burney was suspended for threatening this man, Rick Reed, a city activist, and he's now once again upset with the decisions here. The grand jury stated the police department needed to make the investment in cameras. And in a CBS 12 investigation, we reveal they had body cameras sitting in storage the whole time. But this week, instead of complying with the grand jury's recommendation,
I think cameras in patrol cars and the safety and welfare of our community is a lot more important than the safety and convenience in a chamber for commissioners.
The new purchase of city cameras aren't to ensure the protection of citizens and officers, but to televise commission meetings. Even as the department stated, a third of patrol cars don't have working cameras, but the police didn't have the funding in their city budget for new ones. And as for body cameras, the chief still claims she didn't know they had them in storage, saying because they weren't in use, Chief Diane Hobley-Burney was unaware of their existence until this week. One of 6 cameras, however, is still used for investigative purposes.
And a new report from CBS Channel 12 claims that the officer that fired the fatal shot on Seymour had a body camera, but it was in the trunk of his police cruiser and wasn't using it by the order of his chief. The web of confusing information over who knew what and when has led to anger in the community. Friday evening, members of the community held a rally asking the Seymour case to be reviewed once again. Commissioner Reginald Sessions led the nonviolent rally.
We continue to do the same thing over and over, and it's not working. We're going to try to do something different.
We want all patrol cars to have dash cams.
The black community stresses the importance of transparency through the use of body cameras and dashboard cameras. Well, there's new evidence of the scourge of the Burmese pythons may have expanded into Palm Beach County, getting ever closer to us. That evidence comes from Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. A week ago on the levee surrounding the refuge, federal wildlife officer Patrick James, that is, came upon a Burmese python. He made the rounds in the middle of the night.
The only snake big enough in South Florida to completely reach across the levee road would be a python.
James estimates the snake measured about 10 feet long and weighed about 50 pounds. Other pythons captured there were determined to be recently released pets. But so-called environmental DNA testing from the water from the refuge's interior have indicated the presence of pythons. Loxahatchee Refuge Manager Rolf Olson says he fears the recently discovered python may not be somebody's pet, but wild, and the sign of the harmful snake's expansion into Palm Beach County.
Some studies that have been done down in Everglades National Park, they're eating like 80 to 90% of the mammals. Otters and raccoons and different animals like that are just disappearing.
Researchers at the University of Florida will now examine the python's stomach contents and conduct DNA testing to determine if the snake is a discarded pet or has lived in the wild. The testing will likely take several weeks. And on the political front, the first debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump takes place this evening. At least one authority suspects the TV audience will be one for the books.
It may be a record breaker for how many people actually watch this one. It is greatly anticipated, and certainly throughout the entire primaries, we've been waiting to see who was going to be in this final first debate, I guess you could say.
And finally, here's Deborah Rodriguez with your Daily Dish.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez with your Daily Dish. Hillary Clinton hoping to have an easier time of it at the debate tonight than she had with Zach Galifianakis.
As secretary, how many words per minute could you type? And how does President Obama like his coffee? Like himself? Weak?
Clinton stuck between two ferns on Funny or Die. Bono parades his politics on stage in Vegas.
Are you ready to gamble the American dream?
Dream is dead.
The U2 frontman with a large video image of Donald Trump in the background at the iHeartRadio Fest. Couple of guys in their 60s and some animated birds dominate the box office.
Good Lord. That's right.
Denzel Washington debuts in the #1 spot with The Magnificent Seven and $35 million. Tom Hanks' Sully drops to third.
This is crazy. We are delivering a baby.
Storks opens at #2. And
how many times?
Country Music Hall of Famer Gene Shepard, dead at the age of 82. With your Daily Dish, I'm Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
And those are the stories making news this hour. Your traffic is coming right up. Let's check the highways for you right now. This was reported a little less than a half an hour ago, but there's fatality on State Road 70. That would be Northeast 70 Avenue in Okeechobee. All eastbound and westbound lanes in SR 70 were closed. We may be open right now, but if you're driving out that way, please make sure you keep your eyes open for that happening. This has been your traffic update. If you see something out there, please say something, giving us a call at 340-1590.
Paul, a quick knucklehead in the news, if you will. 17-year-old kid in Germany smoked a cigarette in his parents' new Volkswagen SUV last week. Then did what millions of teenagers before him have done, sprayed air freshener to cover up the smell.
Sure, yeah.
Apparently, this kid went a little too nuts with the air freshener, and he sprayed so much that the inside of the car became combustible?
Wow.
I mean, how much air spray? So when he opened the door and the interior light turned on, that tiny spark ignited the gas and blew the car up.
How did he do? Did he survive it? I
mean, fortunately, he only wound up with burns on his arms, but...
That's crazy. Man. So he sprayed a bunch of deodorizer, I suppose.
So much
which has
of it.
Alcohol in the propellant.
Well, there you go. And then a tiny spark when the light came on when he opened the door.
Another reason not to smoke in your mom's car.
Another knucklehead in the news, folks. What are we going to do with this young generation?
I don't know.
Just don't know either. Magnificent Seven tops the box office. Paul went and saw it. Not too favorable reviews, and we'll get inside of it in just a minute. Well, our man on Hollywood, Dan Hudak, told us, but hey, we got to live and learn. We'll pause for your Florida news and more of the morning show. And now from Studio 3BA, let's talk high school football action from Friday night with Paul Stone.
All right, G, we'll do that. Record-breaking night for Martin County quarterback Austin Kirkendall. Kirkendall broke the school record for passing in a single season earlier in the second quarter.
3rd and 8. Kirkendall wants to pass. He's going to throw a little screen pass to Harris. He's got blockers in front of him. He's going to pick up the first down. He's outside the numbers at the 30. He's got one man to beat. He comes back up the middle of the field, and Harris is into the end zone for the touchdown. A 51-yard catch and run for Harris, and it's now a 3-score lead for Martin County.
It's our good buddy Mike from WSTU.
Yeah, Mike. Hoo.
Well, that played for Kirkendall over the old mark of 1,392 yards, which he set as a sophomore in the year 2014. Well, Kirkendall finished with 212 yards in the game and now has 1,491 yards in just 5 games, with 5 more to go in the season. The Tigers' high-flying offense cruised to a 35-0 homecoming win against Centennial. In other games, Sean Birchfield ran for 3 TDs as Treasure Coast routed Westwood 52-0. Port St. Lucie lost to a state powerhouse for the second week in a row, 48-13. Central scored 35 unanswered points to crush Wellington 63-24, and John Carroll Catholic scored the first 24 points of the game as they beat Father Lopez Catholic 39-38, that is, to 19. And gee, those are your high school sports for the week.
All right, man, appreciate that. I've got a soundbite here. Arnold Palmer joking about trying to make a golf ball skip. Check this out.
For our purposes here, we can't go over the tree, we can't go to the right, and we can't go to the left, and we can't hit a normal shot, so we're going to have to go on the water, meaning we're going to make it go right across the water, skip up onto the green, and naturally, we're going to make a 1-putt. Here we go. Oops.
Skip.
Ball had a cut in it, and that's why it dove into the water. You have to have a perfect golf ball to make this shot work. So we'll try it one more time. One more time, because that ball was a Jack Nicklaus ball. You have to catch it just right so that when it gets to the bank on the other side, it doesn't catch the edge. It has to hit up in the middle of the bank on that 5th skip. You notice it was the 5th skip, right? There we go, and a 1-putt for a birdie.
Wait a minute now, Paul. And I'm not a golfer, but can that actually happen?
Yeah, if you hit it low enough, it'll skip, like throwing a rock across the water, skipping. Yeah, you can skip across it. It happens. But you don't never do it on purpose, I'll tell you that.
So, just skip right across the water and land on the green.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
I guess if you're Arnold Palmer, you can pull that one off. It took him 3 tries to do it.
It's 8:40, the morning show with G and Paul.
Tonight, which side are you on? The presidential debate or Monday Night Football? Hillary versus Trump or the Falcons versus the Saints? The future of America or the Saints trying for their first win of the season? The choice is yours. The Great Debate or Monday Night Football?
The Morning Show with Mr. G and Paul Stone. The talk of the Treasure Coast. 1590 WPSL.
Here's what people are talking about. A White House email account was hacked, and a lot of their information was leaked yesterday. They're saying the information was stolen from the Gmail account of a low-level staffer. Then Joe Biden was like, technically my title is vice president, but I mean, what low-level staffer? Of course, the candidates are busy getting ready for the first presidential debate. And get this, apparently Hillary Clinton has shown an especially good feel for the timers they use in debates. Yeah, they say she has an innate sense of when time is running out. Then Democrats said, where the hell's it been the last couple of months? Hey, come on, let's go! Meanwhile, Donald Trump is not preparing as much for the debate. But his campaign is running a contest where the winner gets to take a ride on Trump's campaign plane. Second place winner gets to be Secretary of State.
That sounds fun. And the band played on. 8:47, the morning show, G and Paul. Well, the new Magnificent Seven tops the box office, and the remake starring Denzel Washington. #1 movie at the box office, $35 million. Paul saw the movie, and an instant review from Paul Stone, please, ladies and gentlemen.
A lot of shoot 'em up, bang, bang, G, but not much of a story, and you knew what was going to happen from the get-go.
I don't remember it.
Well, towns have a problem with some bad people, and they own the town, basically. So this woman whose husband was killed by the bad guy finds these 7 guys. She finds Denzel. He finds 6 other guys. Okay. There's an Asian, a Mexican.
We don't need no stinking batches.
I'm telling you, man. It's like, I don't know. I saw the first one. I can tell you, obviously the people who saw this one didn't see the first one, because if they did, the comparison wasn't very good.
Now, I got to tell you, the trailer, I loved the trailer. It made me want to see it. And then we talked with Dan Hudak, our man in Hollywood, who does movie reviews. He didn't see it, but his guy saw it, and his guy said, well, it's gory. It's a Western, but it's got too much violence and killing and
a lot of shooting
and
going
guts
on.
And
yeah, man. But the cowboy flick, a lot of shooting going on.
Well, yeah, and that's no problem. But usually in the cowboy flicks, you don't see all that. I mean, you see them get shot, but you don't see all. I mean, did that part bother you at all?
No. I mean,
you just didn't like the story.
Blood and gore is okay if it's in the right place. You know? But this one was just a lot of shoot 'em up, and 2 hours and 20 minutes. Gee, it's a long time.
So the Magnificent Seven was not magnificent at all.
Yeah, it was kind of paltry.
It was a mediocre 7?
Pretty much mediocre, yeah. That senses it up good.
And #10 at the box office this week, up to $45.9 million in its 6th week. Kubo and the Two Strings, When the Bow Breaks at #9. Suicide Squad, still there.
Wow.
And this is one the critics said would not make it at all.
That one I haven't seen. I wouldn't mind. It'll be on DVR one of these days.
Well, it's been out there 8 weeks now, so it's time pretty much. $318 million so far. Don't Breathe in its 5th week at #7. Blair Witch. Oh. That's only in its 2nd week. It's up to 16.1. I don't know what it cost to make that one, but it cost a lot more than it did the original.
Well, the first one was like pocket change.
Oh. Yeah. Snowden, $4.1 million this weekend, up to 15 in its 2nd week. At #4, Bridget Jones's Baby. Didn't our man say something about that? I don't know.
I don't recall that.
I don't either. 16.5 in its 2nd week. Sully. Now, have you seen that?
I haven't, but I do want to. That was on the same night, and I almost changed theaters. But I think, man, that's okay.
Yeah, you should have saw it. Now you know you should have saw Sully. 13.8, up to 92.4 in its 3rd week. #2, Storks. Oh. And then we talked about Storks Friday. He reviewed Storks. He said it was very good.
Yeah, that's an animated movie, right? Yeah, with a lot of big voices.
Whole bunch of big-time A-list stars doing the animation. Yeah. But, Storks, $21.8 million, and the #1 movie in America, The Magnificent Seven, $35 million, big ones.
And $8 of mine.
At the box office. But now, did you sneak in candy and all that kind of stuff?
No, I haven't learned that trick yet.
You'll know the next time. Get with me after the program. I'll hook you up with that.
All right. Well, good morning. It's 8:50, 71 degrees. Nice, cool morning out there. It's time for our final newscast of the morning show on WPSL, the Talk of the Treasure Coast. We don't often begin our newscast with sports, but today is a very special sports day in the sporting world as it mourns the loss of 7-time major champion Arnold Palmer, who has died at 87. Palmer died ahead of a planned heart surgery at the Pittsburgh Hospital on Sunday. Known as the King, Palmer captured 7 major championships during his legendary career. Golf became a major television draw while Palmer was earning his 62 PGA titles, including 4 Masters, 2 British Opens, and the 1 U.S. Open from 1958 through 1964. One of his greatest rivals, Jupiter's Jack Nicklaus, says he owes a lot to Palmer.
I'd say we were pretty darn good friends, and I think that and he didn't have to do that. Here's a kid 10 years younger that he sort of shepherded through his early years in the game. I appreciated that very much.
The Bay Hill Invitational in Orlando was named after him and is now dubbed the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Tiger Woods tweeted on Sunday and thanked Arnie for his friendship, his counsel, and a lot of laughs. Now, while the golf community mourns the death of Palmer, the baseball world is mourning the death of Miami Marlins ace right-hander Jose Fernandez, who was among 3 people who were killed when their boat slammed into a jetty off of Miami Beach early Sunday morning. The 2013 National Rookie of the Year was completing his best major league ever, going 16-8 with 253 strikeouts and 29 starts for Miami. Manager Don Mattingly said he'll always think of Fernandez when he watches his children play baseball because that's how Fernandez approached his game.
When you watch kids play Little League or something like that, that's the joy that Jose played with. and the passion he felt about playing. That's what I think about.
A 12-year-old boy lost at least one finger while in a commercial compound Sunday afternoon. Deputies are investigating the circumstances, and spokesman Lieutenant Mike Shear said the boy was taken to the Longwood Regional Medical Center and Heart Institute in Fort Pierce. He's being questioned about why he was in the compound. Skeeler said the incident happened at about 2:50 p.m. on Recycling Services of Florida on the 4200 block of Metzger Road, right across from our studios, which is in Fort Pierce. The St. Lucie County Fire District said the boy's hand was mangled. District officials referred questions to the sheriff's office. A trip to Disney World has ended in tragedy for a Missouri family. The Florida Highway Patrol said Greg and Sarah Moyers were killed and their 2 daughters were injured when their vehicle was struck. The Moyers and their daughters, ages 13 and 8, had visited the Orlando theme park and were headed to the beach in Volusia County before their drive home. The driver of the other vehicle was not injured. And one of the biggest controversies following the grand jury decision not to charge 2 Fort police officers with the murder of DeMarcus Seamer is that there's no video of the encounter, despite the police department's owning multiple body cameras. The police department claims that the cameras were too expensive to use, and now the city has approved setting aside $100,000 for new cameras, TV cameras, to film city council meetings. No body cameras for police officers. CBS 12 Jen Eschbach has more on the story.
A unanimous vote to approve an emergency order for the purchase of cameras, $121,000. This the same week the grand jury decides not to charge 2 Fort Pierce police officers in the unrecorded shooting death of an unarmed DeMarcus Seamer.
This is just bad management.
Chief Diane Hobley-Burney was suspended for threatening this man, Rick Reed, a city activist, and he's now once again upset with the decisions here. The grand jury stated the police department needed to make the investment in cameras. And in a CBS 12 investigation, we reveal they had body cameras sitting in storage the whole time. But this week, instead of complying with the grand jury's recommendation,
I think cameras in patrol cars and the safety and welfare of our community is a lot more important than the safety and convenience in a chamber for commissioners.
The new purchase of city cameras aren't to ensure the protection of citizens and officers, but to televise commission meetings. Even as the department stated, a third of patrol cars don't have working cameras, but the police didn't have the funding in their city budget for new ones. And as for body cameras, the chief still claims she didn't know they had them in storage, saying because they weren't in use, Chief Diane Hobley-Burney was unaware of their existence until this week. One of 6 cameras, however, is still used for investigative purposes.
One of the biggest controversies following the grand jury's decision not to charge 2 Fort Pierce police officers with murder of DeMarcus Seamer is that there's no video of the encounter, despite the police department owning several body cameras. The police department claims that the cameras were too expensive to use, and now the city has approved setting aside $100,000 for new cameras. And there was a rally last night at Commissioner Reginald Sessions led the nonviolent rally. Here's what the commissioner had to say.
We continue to do the same thing over and over, and it's not working. We're going to try to do something different.
We want all patrol cars to have dash cams.
And those are the stories, that is, making news. So are your traffic. Having a check right now, there was fatality about an hour ago. It was on State Road 70 near Okeechobee. If you happen to travel that way, please travel with care. If you see something, say something. Give us a call at 340-1590.
You're hearing the morning show, Talk of the Treasure Coast, 1590 WPSL. Going to have the time of your life, I promise.
And Paul's going to take us back in the day.
Yes, I am. Speaking about debates, well, in 1960, the first TV presidential debate took place in Chicago. John F. Kennedy and a sweaty and bearded Richard Nixon.
Tricky Dick.
Yeah. 54 years ago, in 1962, the Beverly Hillbillies debuted on CBS. It was the #1 show on TV during its first 2 seasons. Granny, Jed, Ellie Mae are now dead, but Jethro's still with us.
Oh,
Max
yes.
Baer is
Max
79 years old.
Oh, wow. I remember the cement pond.
And how about 1964, Gilligan's Island debuted on CBS. Only 2 of the 7 original casters are still with us. Tina is Ginger, they called her, and Marianne.
Oh, she with the Daisy Dukes.
Yes, they're still 52 years ago, the Kinks released You Really Got Me. 48 years ago, Hawaii Five-0 debuted on CBS. And Hall & Oates with Private Eyes. 35 years ago, they were on the chart for the first time in 1981.
That's it for us, Paul.
You have a good day, G.
Enjoy the debates. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning with WPSL Port St. Lucie. Your CBS News is next, followed by Cliff and Swap Shop.